building rhythms and tools that keep us on track, energized, and visible. Welcome to this episode of Built by the Journey, where awareness is essential, milestones matter, and detours count. I'm Laible, and I'm grateful you found your way back here today. This podcast is built for entrepreneurs who know that growth isn't just about big launches, viral moments. It's about the daily reminders, the steady resilience, and those little sparks that remind you you're still here and your vision still matters. Today, I want to lean into, first, a journey prompt. When was the last time you overcame something you thought was impossible? Second, a someday maybe dreaming of what vision lights you up. And third, a strategy prompt. What's one process you can automate right now? This journey prompt has challenged me personally, and maybe it'll do the same for you. When I ask you that question, when was the last time you overcame something you thought was impossible? I don't mean the everyday obstacles, like finding your car keys when you're late or juggling too many Zoom meetings. I'm talking about those moments where your first reaction was absolutely not. There's no way. I can't do that. And then you did it. Have you had that moment? The impossible became possible, and suddenly you were standing on the other side of it. For me, one of those moments was when I left my corporate career. After 18 years in banking, I had a comfortable paycheck, steady benefits, and a predictable path. But I also had this ache. I wanted to create something of my own. The idea of leaving was terrifying. We had the added layer of struggling with childcare. Our community is small, and the typical childcare centers were not an option. We had been imposing on our families for way too long. My husband and I had long conversations at the kitchen table, weighing the risk against the reward. My head said, impossible, but my gut whispered, maybe not. The day I turned in my resignation letter, I shook the entire drive home. And yet, a few years later, I was running a brick-and-mortar business in the downtown business district. That leap, that impossible moment, was the beginning of a whole new chapter. And here's the thing. Overcoming something impossible doesn't just give you relief, it energizes you. It lifts you. It expands your sense of what's possible for the next project, the next pivot, the next big dream. Sometimes we don't even realize how much strength we carry until the obstacle demands it. There was another impossible moment I faced, and it wasn't about business at all. At least not directly. It was my cancer diagnosis and the recovery journey that followed. When I first heard the words, it felt like the floor dropped out from under me. My mind immediately ran through all the reasons this would derail everything. My family, my business, my future. I thought, there's no way I can walk through this. There's no way I can keep showing up for life, let alone entrepreneurship, with this kind of fight ahead of me. The treatment took my energy, my focus, and at times, my confidence. I was exhausted in ways that coffee or sleep couldn't fix. There were days I could barely get out of bed, let alone run a business. To call it impossible felt like an understatement. And yet, I did it. Not perfectly, not without scars, both seen and unseen. But day by day, step by step, I fought. I leaned on my support system. I adjusted my rhythms, and slowly I made it through. What that season taught me is this: resilience isn't always about pushing harder. It's about giving yourself permission to go slower, to rest, to lean on others, and to still keep moving forward in whatever way you can. That cancer recovery, that impossible road, ended up teaching me more about entrepreneurship than any course, coach, or conference ever could. Because entrepreneurship is also about finding the strength to keep going when your body, your mind, or your circumstances tell you it's not impossible. Every time I reflect on that season, I realize I've already overcome the hardest thing I ever thought I couldn't. And that fuels me when I face the smaller impossibles of business. If I can get through that, I can send another email, launch another offer, or stand back up after a setback. So maybe your impossible doesn't look like cancer recovery, but I know you've had your version. And I want you to remember, if you overcame that, you can handle what's in front of you now. Now, maybe your impossible doesn't look like leaving a career or fighting cancer, but maybe it was something similar, like saying yes to a speaking engagement when you've had never been comfortable in front of people, or starting a podcast. Hello, guilty as charged on that one. I remember when I first thought about recording this podcast, I had all the doubts. What if no one listens? What if my voice shakes? What if it's messy? But one thing I've learned is that messy doesn't mean wrong. It just means human. The first time I hit record, it felt impossible. But here I am, in episode 4, still showing up, still learning, still reminding myself and you that we don't have to have it all figured out. We just have to step into it. Think back, what's your version of impossible? How can you share images of overcoming something you once thought impossible, which have shaped you into who you are today? Now let's bridge into the dream side of the JDS framework. Dreams have this way of giving us energy, even if they're not fully attainable right now. Sometimes they're someday maybe dreams, like the kind you see in movies or magazines. Think about it. Movies love to set us up with these grand, sweeping visuals. The perfect kitchen, the flawless open concept, living room, and the closet with rows of color-coded shoes and outfits. They make us imagine the life that would unfold in those spaces. The dinner parties, the laughter, the quiet nights by the fire. What vision lights you up every time you picture it? For me, it's the vision of a 2-story library in my house. Picture it with me. Deep red brick walls, shelves lined with books on both levels, a wraparound couch full of throw pillows, a cozy fire pit in the center, and of course, a little coffee station tucked in the corner. Add in a Scentsy warmer glowing with one of my favorite scents, and you can practically feel the warmth and ambiance wrapping around you. Now, I will never have a 2-story library in my house. Probably not. But that doesn't mean the dream doesn't energize me. Because here's what happens when we let ourselves dream. We find pieces we can bring into the present. I might not build a grand library, but I can create a reading nook with rich colors and add extra pillows to my couch, set up a little coffee bar, and let that Scentsy warmer glow in the corner. Suddenly, pieces of that someday dream become today's reality. And that shift, bringing a slice of the dream into today, lightens my energy and fuels me forward. That's the beauty of dreaming. It's not about perfection. It's about permission. Permission to imagine, to feel, to energize yourself with possibility. So let me ask you, what's that vision for you? Finally, let's move into the strategy prompt for this episode. What's one process you can automate right now? Now, if you're anything like me, you might immediately think, oh, I should be doing so much more with automation. I'll be the first to admit, I don't take advantage of it as much as I should. But here's the truth. Automation doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as setting up an email funnel with an automatic thank you message, or scheduling a reminder to follow up with clients after a certain number of days. It's the little things, those that set it and forget it processes, that free up our energy for the bigger, more meaningful work. One automation I love sending is a follow-up email after someone downloads a resource from me. First, they get a thank you, and then they get a bonus email with one more tip or opportunity. That's not just automation, it's relationship building. It's keeping the conversation going without me having to manually remember every single detail. Here's the question for you. What's one thing you're doing over and over that you could hand off to technology? It might be a little time up front to set it up, but once it's rolling, you get that time back every single day. And trust me, those reclaimed minutes and hours, they add up. So let's pull this all together. From the journey prompt, we remembered that impossible things aren't always as impossible as they seem, and overcoming them creates energy for the next leap. From the dream prompt, we learned that visions, even if they're someday maybes, can still fuel us today by pulling pieces into our present. From the strategy prompt, we realized that not even one simple automation can free up our time and our energy for what matters. It absolutely can be done with just a small moment of time deciding what simple automation will fit you. Entrepreneurship isn't about having everything perfect. It's about building rhythms and tools that keep us on track, energized, and visible. So I'll leave you with the weekly visibility question. That one I always circle back to because it keeps us grounded and accountable. What did you do today to remind the world you're still here? Because staying visible means staying an option. Your vision, your journey, deserves to be seen. Thank you for spending time with me today. If this episode resonated with you, make sure you have hit subscribe or consider sharing it with another entrepreneur who could use a reminder that impossible is only temporary. Also, if you would like more stories about my journey with cancer as an entrepreneur, please go to my website, ontrackwithchris.com, and find the link to my book, Resilient by Design, How Life's Challenges Parallel the Entrepreneurial Journey. I'll see you next week with another set of prompts from the Journey Dream Strategy Framework. Until then, keep showing up, keep dreaming, keep building, because your journey is building you just as much as you're building it.